Discipline is something we all want but can't seem to keep hold onto. Every day, we can choose to do anything we want. From the moment we wake up to the moment we lay down for a good night's sleep, there are thousands of possibilities available to us. It's rare, though, that we consistently choose to do the things we know we should do. We might go to the gym after work, and we might even walk right past the vending machine despite the growling in our stomach. But we're not likely to do everything on the list. Sometimes, we might even skip the gym because it's been a long day. Instead, we might get something from the vending machine because we were good last week. So what is it about us that keep us from doing what we need to do to get in shape, build that business, write that book, build better relationships, stop smoking, or do any number of other things we want to do? This shows a lack of discipline. The Stoicism. Stoicism is an old school of Hellenistic philosophy that was developed more than 2,000 years ago in the Greek city-state of Athens. People from Athens, including Zeno of Citium, got together to talk about how to live a good and happy life. Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that is still practiced today, was developed as a result of the ancient Greeks' responses to these questions. All of this is about discipline, but what does it have to do with helping me stick to my 4-day-a-week gym schedule? Okay, I'm glad you asked. The Stoics have a number of fundamental ideas that help us organize and question our thoughts. They do this in a way that cuts through the justifications we make and the stories we tell ourselves to justify our lack of discipline. Here, we'll look at 4 rules the Stoics use to develop into people who always do the right thing, even when they're tired, unsure, or uncomfortable. Here they are. 1. The dichotomy of control. 2. The path of virtue. 3. The art of acceptance. 4. Mindfulness. Let's define exactly what we mean when we say discipline before we dive into these rules. The word tyrant is frequently used as a thing in our day-to-day lives. We get beaten with it when we do something wrong or don't do something we should have done. It sounds like we have to follow the rules we make for ourselves without question, quell our desires, and obey the word. This is why a lot of people avoid it. Being disciplined is hard. It's easier to keep doing what we've always done than to get up, change our behavior, and refuse to give in to the voice that wants us to go back to the couch, Netflix, and the pizza delivery app. But we can change how we think about discipline so that we see it as a friend instead of a tyrant. Good health, long-lasting happiness, and the ability to reach our full potential are all benefits of this. It can be developed over time, and as it does, it gets easier and easier to master. At its most basic level, discipline is just picking one path over another. But when we choose this path on purpose, we are making choices that are in line with our deepest values and moving towards our goals. Without it, we might find ourselves lost in life's maze of strong feelings, whims, impulses, and desires that come and go. Because we are much more resilient to the things that pull us off our path, we can get through all of this easier with it. The goal of discipline is to free ourselves from the chains of impulsivity and desire that would otherwise control our thoughts and actions and drag us into a life we didn't choose. It's not about denying ourselves comfort and enjoyment. The Stoic rules for discipline are: let's take a closer look at what Stoicism has to offer. The 2 types of control. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, left us with the dichotomy of control, which divides our lives into those that we have control over and those that we do not. Epictetus said that the only things we really have control over are our thoughts, actions, beliefs, and decisions. Everything else is out of our reach. This includes, but is not limited to, other people's actions and beliefs, the weather, the traffic, the economy, the time, and your own health. He continued by saying that when we understand this difference, we can better focus our energy on the aspects of life that we have direct control over, and as a result, become more effective, confident, deliberate, and resourceful people. When we get this wrong, though, we can't determine what we can control and what we can't, so we waste time trying to change things we can't. Because of this, we run the risk of becoming angry, frustrated, and generally unhappy. What does this have to do with discipline? We can quickly see if we're being held back by outside factors or if the obstacles to changing our habits lie within us when we have the ability to divide things into these two categories. If they come from outside sources, we must accept them and look for ways to use our choices and mindset to overcome them. For example, if we want to get in shape but don't live near a gym, we might need to get some basic tools. We can look up yoga moves we can do at home on Google if we don't have any money. When we face an external obstacle, the first thing we should do is look inside and consider ways we can act or think to overcome it. We have a very different problem to solve if we are facing internal headwinds. A lot of the time, our lack of discipline comes from the way we think. People frequently make up stories to justify behavior that is motivated by impulse and desire. This is our mind's way of taking over our ability to think critically and molding it to our passions. The ability to be self-aware must be developed in this situation. We can catch ourselves in the act when we know ourselves well. When we catch ourselves in the act, we can start to see patterns in the way we think. When we see patterns, we can change parts of our mindset. We are responsible for everything inside the circle we control. The way to goodness. According to the Stoics, virtue was the only thing that was good and behavior that went against virtue was the only thing that was bad. Being on the path to a well-lived life means acting with virtue and trying to make virtue a part of every day. One filled with joy, peace, and good fortune. On the other hand, when someone gives up virtue and lets the desire of suffering pull them away from righteous behavior, they are filled with guilt, pain, envy, and other negative emotions that lead to a life of misery and suffering. There were 4 main virtues that the Stoics thought could help people live a good life. These are them. 1. Wisdom. 2. Temperance. 3. Courage. 4. Justice. Wisdom. Sophia. According to the Stoics, wisdom is not just knowing things the right way, but also being able to put them into practice. It includes the ability to make wise decisions, deal with the challenges of life, and determine what is truly important. It includes our capacity to view the world objectively and see it for what it is rather than what we would like it to be. If we are wise, we know that we can only control some things and not others, and we focus our energy on those things. There are 3 types of things: good, bad, and neutral. The main idea is that virtue is the only thing that is good, vice is the only thing that is bad, and everything else is neutral. Courage, Andrea. For the Stoics, courage is not limited to physical bravery, but also includes moral courage, which is the ability to stick to one's morals in the face of difficulty. In any situation, it's about keeping your honor and dignity. The ability to accept and face the facts of life, such as suffering and death, without giving in to fear or distress, is what is meant by Stoic courage. If you follow the Stoic philosophy, justice means being fair, kind, and recognizing that every person has worth and dignity. To actively work towards improving society and maintaining social harmony is what it means. It means treating everyone with respect, no matter what their status is or how they act, because we are all rational beings in a larger community. To keep your desires and impulses in check is the virtue of temperance, sophros. Temperance is also sometimes translated as moderation or self-control. It's about making life more balanced and peaceful. Temperance makes sure that we don't let our desires or emotions rule our actions, but rather that we respond to them in a measured and thoughtful way, which benefits both our own growth and the well-being of others. We walk a path that leads us closer to a happy and well-lived life when we reflect these virtues in our behavior, which also helps us become more disciplined. The art of letting go. One thing the Stoics were sure of was that acceptance is a key part of any personal philosophy. What does acceptance, which seems like a passive way of life, have to do with actively building discipline? We must first take a deeper look at acceptance as an act rather than a passive surrender to fate and the world around us in order to comprehend this connection. Some Stoics believe that acceptance doesn't mean giving up, lying down, and letting the world go by. Instead, Acceptance means facing the truth of reality, seeing things for what they are, and moving on with that knowledge instead of complaining about how things are and wishing they were different. Certain things are simply the way they are, and accepting them as they are can help you avoid needless stress and build a strong sense of peace instead. Now let's talk about discipline. At its core, discipline is a long-term commitment to certain planned behaviors that help us live our lives in a way that is in line with our long-term goals and values. Though there may be problems along the way, the practice of acceptance helps us stay on this path. We don't dwell on the obstacle. Instead, we see it for what it is, accept it, and figure out a way to get past it. This is called acceptance. Take the disciplined pursuit of physical fitness as an example. Unexpected events, like getting hurt or having to change our routine quickly, could throw off our plans. Acceptance, on the other hand, changes our focus from the uncontrollable event, the injury or change, to what we can, our reaction. We can choose to change how we work out, get used to the new routine, and keep up our disciplined fitness efforts. Acceptance fosters this flexible resilience, which is a quality that is fundamental to discipline. Practicing acceptance also helps us stick to our discipline by teaching us how to control our emotions. Setbacks or disappointments can make us feel bad, which can make us break our disciplined routines. But acceptance lets us see these emotional waves without letting them sink our disciplined ship. We learn to accept how we feel without letting them control what we do, which makes us more disciplined. Being mindful. This is our fourth list of Stoic practices. Mindfulness is often left out of modern explanations of the philosophy. Mindfulness and discipline might not seem like good friends at first. To learn more about the philosophy, though, we can see that they go hand in hand, like two sides of the same coin. We need to go over some of the most basic ideas of what we mean by mindfulness in order to show how this link works. Mindfulness comes from both Stoic philosophy and Eastern traditions. It means learning to be in the present moment, aware of our thoughts as they happen, and aware of our actions as they happen. Having too many thoughts about the past or the future at all times would be the opposite of mindfulness. This would make it impossible to focus on the here and now. You may be wondering what mindfulness has to do with discipline at this point. If we define discipline as the deliberate selection of one action over another, we can also see how the ability to recognize our thoughts and emotions in real time can help us avoid being pulled into actions that go against our values and goals. We can act on these desires when we are aware of them and reject them. Think about how disciplined it is to eat well. Mindfulness enables us to be fully aware of our eating habits, to recognize when we are full, to notice the impulse to reach for that unnecessary snack, and to savor each bite. Despite momentary temptations, this increased awareness strengthens our discipline, helping us stick to our dietary choices. Mindfulness also helps us stay focused on the task at hand, which is a key component of discipline. It helps us stay in the here and now, helping us act fully in the present. This focus makes us more productive and effective, and it makes our disciplined routines better.